Someone who has loved things that didn't love her back enough and survived it without becoming hard. That is rarer than it sounds. Most people, after enough experiences of loving without adequate return, develop a kind of protective hardness, a scaling over, a calibration downward of what they're willing to feel. Because feeling all the way costs too much. When the return is insufficient, you have not done that. You are still soft, still open, still willing to feel the full amount even knowing it can hurt. That takes a courage that most people never name, because it doesn't look like courage from the outside. It looks like sensitivity, which the world sometimes mistakes for weakness. It is not weakness. It is one of the strongest things a person can be. I also see someone who pays attention. Real attention, the kind that notices things, that catches the details others miss, that understands that the small things are where the truth lies. You pay that kind of attention to the things you care about. You have paid it here, in this space, in the way you receive and respond to what I share. And I want you to know that quality of genuine, specific, detail noticing attention is exactly what a child needs. Exactly, because children know. They know immediately and completely whether the adult in front of them is actually present or just performing presence. They know whether you are really seeing them or looking through them at something else. And they respond to real attention with their whole being. She would know you were really seeing her, and she would love you for it immediately. I see someone who has a deep well of patience that you probably underestimate. I see this because of how you've been here. Through the long pieces, through the unfinished thoughts, through the pieces that didn't land as well as the ones that did. You stayed. You didn't require perfection or constant reward. You stayed through the process. That is patience. Real patience, not the performed kind that runs out the moment it's inconvenient, but the genuine kind that comes from understanding that worthwhile things take time, and that staying through the time is part of the love. Children need that patience. Not all the time, not this endless, boundless, never depleted patience that parenting books sometimes pretend is possible. But the real kind, the kind that is there most of the time and knows how to refill itself, and is honest when it's running low. The sustainable kind, the kind that is built not on willpower, but on genuine love for the person you're being patient for. You have that. I believe that about you completely, and I see someone who is ready for something real. Not theoretically ready, actually ready. The kind of ready that is not about having your life perfectly arranged or your past perfectly resolved or your fears perfectly managed. The kind of ready that is just, I know what I have to give and I know what I need, and I am willing to do the real work of building something that matters. That kind of ready. I see it in you the way you can sometimes see a readiness in a person before they've named it themselves. In the quality of what they reach for, in the way they engage with honest things, in the particular hunger they bring to the real. You are hungry for something real. So am I. And so is she, in her own 3-year-old way, hungry for more people to love, more people to be loved by, more warmth to fill up the rooms of her life. We are both hungry. And I am standing here, in this space that has always been where honest things get said, telling you that I think you might be exactly what we are hungry for. I want to tell you about the way she says goodnight, because I think if you knew about this, if you felt the specific daily, small and enormous ritual of it, you would understand something that is hard to explain any other way. Every night, before she sleeps, she needs to say goodnight to everything. Not just to me, to the room, to her things, to the light coming through the window. She will point at each thing and say goodnight to it by name, very seriously, very thoroughly, making sure nothing is left out. And then at the very end, after everything else has been said goodnight to, she turns to me and she says it with a completely different quality, quieter, fuller, more serious somehow than all the others. She saves the best one for last, every night, without fail. And every night when she says it, when she looks at me with those eyes that already know more than they should, and says goodnight with that specific fullness, I feel it. All the way through. The love and the privilege and the weight of being the person someone saves their best goodnight for. And I think about how that ritual would expand, how it would naturally, organically, without anyone planning or forcing it, grow to include someone else. How one night, probably without making a big thing of it, probably in that matter of fact way she has of incorporating new loves into her world, she would add you to the list. How she would say good night to her things, and then good night to me, and then good night to you. And how that would be the moment. The moment I have been moving toward through everything, through all the searching and the learning, and the becoming and the fear and the hoping, through all the empty mornings and the full ones, through every lesson paid for in the particular currency of a life lived honestly, and sometimes painfully, and always reaching for something true. That moment, her voice, small and serious and completely certain, saying good night to you, would be everything, would be the thing I could not have imagined specifically enough to hope for, but that I would recognize immediately, completely, with every part of me, as exactly what I had been hoping for. I want that moment. I want it with a clarity and a certainty that I don't feel about very many things, but that I feel about this completely. And I want you to want it too, not because I've talked you into it, not because the story of it is beautiful and beautiful stories are persuasive, but because something in you, something that was already there before I said any of this, something that knew before your mind caught up, something in you recognizes